Yeah, that's a lot of buttons, which is a good thing, don't get me wrong, but it might be a bit overwhelming for a newcomer to this instrument. So if you're the lucky owner of this, the Genos 2, or just stumble across one in the music store and want to try it out and get playing music as quickly as possible, this video is for you. And by the way, if you like this video or just like my shirt, then do consider subscribing for more, and thank you so much if you already have. It really does mean a lot to me. So one thing to keep in mind is that this doesn't have any built-in speakers. Today I'm using these. These are the official YAMAHA GENOS speaker system with 2 satellites and a sub down there on the floor, which does sound very nice and gets the job done. Other options you might want to consider: a pair of active studio monitor loudspeakers that you'll have to position on a stand behind the keyboard. They work very well and are a step up in quality from these, I think. If you have any aspirations of doing some live gigs, performing in front of a crowd, in a venue, then maybe consider instead a pair of active loudspeakers, PA loudspeakers. Something with a pair of 8-inch woofers or 10-inch, I think, would be an ideal compromise for playing at home and playing in smaller venues. Then of course you have the option of using headphones if you like, or another option some people use is a pair of multimedia PC loudspeakers. A good set of Logitechs will do the job at a pinch. So I'm having to record a few of these segments because I forgot to start my audio recorder, this thing over here. It's running now, but perhaps it will be a bit disjointed as I don't remember quite what I've said and what I haven't said. But let's talk about the accompaniment. You paid a lot of money to get one of these keyboards, and the feature that sets it apart from everything else is the auto accompaniment. It will detect what chords you're playing and give you a backing track, a style in a musical genre as you play. A whole lot of fun. You probably want to switch that on. Let me show you how. Down here we have a button that you need to ensure is illuminated. This one here, accompaniment, press it so it becomes red. So ensure that this is switched on. At the same time, we can also switch on OTS link and the auto fill-in. Make sure all of those 3 are lit. We'll talk about them later in the video. This button is also important, the sync start. You can manually start and stop the style, the accompaniment using this button here. I like to engage sync start, which will automatically start everything as soon as you play a chord on the keyboard. You can see the start stop button flashing, telling you that it's ready to go at your command. So the next logical thing to do is to select your accompaniment style, and there are a couple of ways to accomplish this. Over here on the right we have our quick access buttons that are very helpful. The first one will always take you to the home page, which is what you see on the display right now, giving you an overview of the current sounds and styles that are selected. Down here though, will automatically jump you to the style selection page, which is highlighted in orange. If we go back to this page, our home screen, and zoom in a little bit on the LCD display, this is a touch screen. You see the orange area here as well. You can also just click here and jump into the style selection page. Let's have a closer look. So a little bit awkward for me with the tripod, but we'll do our best. On the left here, you can see various categories. Pop is the first one. And then we can select different styles from this list. Don't worry, we're not hearing anything yet because I don't want to be drowned out as I'm talking, but we'll test out a few of these in just a second. Also note there are several pages of styles, not just the first 10 that are presented, so remember always to step through. And even when we get to page 5, there are more available, which we select using the arrows here. In fact, 8 pages of 10 styles, so 80 styles in the pop category. Similarly, I can't say that word. I give up. Let's go to the dance section. You can see a similar layout here as well, and you can step through all of these sounds here. So that's how you select a style of your choice, depending on what musical mood you're in. Another thing that you probably want to do is choose a tempo. Now, when you select a style, the keyboard will choose a suitable tempo for you. But if you want to adjust it yourselves, you can go up and down using the tempo knobs here. Up on the screen, it's telling me the current tempo, going up in steps of 1 beats per minute. Also, you can do a tap tempo, which will like count in the accompaniment depending on the speed that you press the buttons. I'll give you an example. Apologies, I pressed the sync start, but if we just go a really fast tempo, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're off. So that's a nice feature as well. We'll just stop it using the button there, start, stop. All right, I want to talk about these one-touch settings. Earlier, I told you to switch on the OTS link button, OTS one-touch settings. These are an incredibly handy feature that Yamaha have provided here. And let's go for ranch pop, whatever that means. Back to the home page. Now, OTS settings, together with the style, Yamaha have called up 4 different sounds that are appropriate for this particular style. Let's see what it's chosen. On number 1. Okay, number 2. Sounds like a whirly. Nice guitar. And a nice piano string pad thing. So these are called up for you automatically with every style, so you don't have to go around hunting for appropriate voices. Yamaha have done it for you. Of course, you can overwrite them and save your own OTS if you want. We talked briefly about this OTS link button. I told you to switch it on. What that will do is automatically select one of these 4 voices as you change through the 4 variations. But we haven't talked about variations yet, so let's do that now. So the nice thing about this keyboard and most other arranger keyboards from Yamaha and their competitors is that for each style, 800 on this thing, you get 4 different variations, 3 different intros and 3 different outros. Here are the 4 variation buttons. So you trigger the different variations here as you're playing, or the intros and outros as you see fit. There's even a break button there to do a little fill. Remember, I told you earlier to switch on auto fill-in. The cool thing about that is that as you switch variations, it will do a nice drum break or some instrumental fill-in to lead you nicely into the next variation. Very cool, and that's why I recommend you having it switched on. So I need to demonstrate this for you, and this is where the fun begins. Let's choose a style at random here. Which category would you guys like? I'm thinking, let's not go to the oldies. Should we do dance, retro pop, pop, entertainer? Let's go to retro pop. We'll get some good 80s stuff. 80s synth duo. Let's take a listen to this. All 3 buttons are activated. Let's select variation 1 and intro 2. Sync start is on, so as soon as I play my C chord, it will start playing. OTS link is on, so we have a suitable sound on the right hand. Like a synthy choir pad thing. Let's go! No guesses what this is, or no prizes if you can guess what this is. Okay, let's try variation B, and you'll hear the fill-in. Very cool. C. D. Okay, so the interesting thing to note there, I'm sure you noticed yourselves actually, as we stepped up through the variations, it became progressively more busy. The patterns became more complex. If you like, you can use this section here to actually dial back some of the sounds and mute some of the parts if you found, like me, that they are often a little bit too busy for your tastes and not leaving much room for the right hand. Another thing to note as we change variations, we get the different OTS on the right hand, which is super convenient when you're doing a performance. Let's try one of the intros and outros. Let's use a different style. I don't know why, but I'm talking with a very enthusiastic voice, which is surprising since this is actually the second time I've had to record this video, but hope you don't mind me too much. Just having a lot of fun. Shall we go into a different category? Let's go for some rock. 70s hard rock. Okay, it's grunge rock. Let's do that one. Let's take a listen to the intros and the outros. For this one, it will automatically choose an appropriate style, tempo for me, of course the one-touch settings, sync start. Let's have a basic intro first. Let's try intro 2. You don't have to start with an intro, you can do it at any time you like. Intro 3. Oh, this is more like it. Which will lead into A, which is flashing. There we go. Let's show you the break. Let's try an outro. Outro 3, the most complex outro. Here we go. So that is your variations in a nutshell. Very powerful and a lot of fun to use. Another thing that's automatically called up for you as you change styles is these multi-pad controls. Now, what are those, you might be wondering? Well, they can trigger, by pressing a button, you can trigger a percussion loop, for example, or maybe a one-shot sample, a sound effect, a cymbal crash or something. Let's pull up a style and take a listen to see what we have. One I find had really great multi-pad controls was, if we go into movie and show, the second one, this desert adventure. I'm also going to play the one-touch settings here because they are very cool indeed. We can play the style actually, because this is completely different to the one we just heard. But anyway, the multi-pad controls, listen to this. This is like an Arabic sounding style. It's called Desert Adventure. To stop it, hold the stop button. So very nice, wow, authentic percussion here. You can play them all at once if you so wish. Stop them. If you press the sync start and then hold it down, it's flashing and it will start playing then in sync and in tempo with the style once you start it. Let's have a little play of this one, variation A, intro 2, okay? Sync start, we have, I'm going to switch off the multi-pads because I just want you to hear the style for now. One-touch settings, so we have a nice, wow, here we go. Now this is going to play a chord sequence for you, which I'm not particularly fond of. I'd rather trigger that myself, but it is what it is. And we're into variation A. I didn't mention it, but over here we have a joystick which will affect the sound in interesting ways. Don't forget, this keyboard has aftertouch, which allows you to play expressively by pressing down harder on the key like this. Add some vibrato. Let's go to section B. C. And a long outro. The real challenge for performers of arranger keyboards is knowing what to do as these long intros and outros play. In previous videos I've actually solved the Rubik's Cube. We can actually enable 3 different sounds at the same time, called a layer. If we switch this one off, we can also enable this one. A nice pad, we have this one. Synth strings, and you can combine them as you wish, all 3 at the same time. Okay, you see what I'm doing there? So that's a very nice thing. It's very easy to do splits and layers. In fact, even if we press this button here, we'll get a choir on the left and our mega layer on the right. Whilst we're here, if you want to select the sounds that you have for each of these different parts, Yamaha call them voices, just press the button above the sound layer to select it on the LCD. Okay, for the final segment of this video, and thank you so much for sticking with me throughout its entirety if you're still watching. The final topic is how the keyboard detects the chords that you're playing. Now, typically on these kind of keyboards, the performer will use his or her left hand to trigger the chords, letting the keyboard know what kind of chords to play in the backing. There are other modes available actually. It's interesting, there is a mode that will scan the entire keyboard, so you can play it conventionally like a piano and it will still figure out what chords you're playing. But I'm using the default settings right now, so let me give you a quick demonstration of that. Okay, I've selected a style called Tens Electro Pop. I have no idea what this one is. It's a bit of a lucky dip today. Let's go to variation 1. I'm going to turn off Sync Start and explain how to finger the chords with your left hand. Now, it can be pretty basic if you want. Again, this is just the default settings. You could just play a triad and it will detect that for you. Major, minor. You can even play inversions. So that's a C. That's also a C. That's a C. If you wanted, for example, a C with a different bass note, just play the triad and then add that down there. You can play sevenths, minor sevenths, major sevenths, and so on. Okay, let's start the style there. It'll make for a more interesting demonstration perhaps. This one didn't have a lot of chordal content, so let's switch to our country, shall we? Okay, that's fine for the purposes of this demo. So there's a C. You can play even augmented chords, but you do need to make sure you're playing octaves. C augmented, C6. Let's try it without holding down the top one. It works there as well. There it's detected it as an A minor, an inversion of A minor. That will get it as a C6. So you have to experiment a little bit with these. Let's try a different variation. Let's go to something, the maximum one. I'm going to go to a jazz style and show you something really cool. Okay, acoustic jazz. This really surprised me actually when I discovered this. Let's go to variation 2, Sync Start, we're good to go. Okay, now in jazz music, us pianists often use rootless voicings in the left hand, and I was astounded to discover that it works here. I'm going to play a D minor, G7, C, 2-5-1. Listen to this. You see, I'm not playing the chords, stop this for a second, I'm not playing the chords in the root position. There's my D minor 7. There's my G7, and there's my C, which is exactly the way a jazz pianist would normally play these voicings, and the keyboard is detecting it without problems. That actually blew my mind. So it's actually very sophisticated how it's detecting your chords. You do need to play perhaps the chords a fraction before the beat so that the right chord is triggered as the new bar or measure starts up. That's no big deal. I would say it does take a little bit of time to adjust to playing these left-hand voices and learning how to communicate with the arranger. Also takes a little bit of practice. Some people might think it's easy to play these things. Absolutely not. No, having to synchronize your chords, the melodies, a solo perhaps, the sound changes, the variation changes, the fills, the intros, the outros, perhaps even mixing the volumes of the parts in the styles. We haven't talked about this, but you can also adjust the volumes of all the parts. If you wanted to mute the drums, for example, you can do that, but we'll save that for a separate video. So apologies if there hasn't been all that much fantastic music in this particular video, but it really was more of a tutorial presentation today. Don't worry, I have many other videos where I'll just do song performances without any of my incessant talking, if you just want to hear what this thing sounds like as I perform using all of the features that we've just described today. Well, that was just scratching the surface, but I hope it was helpful to get you started. Other topics I want to cover in separate videos, I've got a list here, is all about the sounds and the sound selection. We have the DX7 FM synthesis engine on board, how to do the mixing of the sounds, registration memories, all these buttons over there. The real-time controls, the faders and knobs that we have over there, how to use the looper feature. And there's also the vocal harmonizer, which we might have a little bit of fun with in the future as well. So yeah, again, if you found that to be interesting, then please do consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you if you already have. I'll see you again next time. Cheerio! And by the way, if you like this video or just like my shirt, then do consider